Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jennifer and I'm a fashion designer based in Lagos. I want to say a big thank you to you all for being part of Jenny Newell family. Thank you for your comments, your suggestions, your opinion. We really appreciate. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to me too. I wish you a prosperous new year and a remarkable one too. So in today's tutorial I'll show you how I made this beautiful blouse I'm putting on. Without further ado, let's go straight into the tutorial. So to make this really beautiful blouse you can see here, you need the following measurements. So for us to be able to do our pattern, like to sketch out our pattern on pattern paper, you need these are the things you need the marker, your pattern paper, brown paper, or whatever you want to use to sketch out your pattern. You need the ruler as well. So first thing first is take measurement from your shoulder to the waist. For me, I'm using 15.5 inches. So depending on where your waist stops, that's where you would measure from. So you measure from your shoulder to your waist. Yours can be 16, 18, 14, depending on what you want to do. So just go ahead to draw a horizontal line to connect both dots together. Then next thing to do is to do your mark your zip line. So remember the zip is in front and not at the back, so because of that we'll put the zip in front here too. So I'm just going ahead to mark 1 1/4 inch. So it's 1 1/4 of an inch, just as you can see here on my pattern paper. So some people do 1 inch actually, but I prefer to do 1.5 inch so there's enough room for the zip. So just go ahead to draw a vertical line. So the next thing to do is to mark your shoulder measurement. So for me, my shoulder is 15 inches, so divide that by 2 is 7.5. So that's how I got that one. Now go ahead to just come down from the shoulder, just come down by 1/2 of an inch. That's because the shoulder is not straight. So you go ahead to mark 2.5 inch this way, because we are doing kind of a turtleneck something. It's not exactly a turtleneck, but then it's a small neck. So you use 2.5 inch. Then now you just connect the dots together to just create a slant line. So the next thing to do is to take your neck depth. For me, I'm just using 5.5 inches because I don't want it revealing. I don't want my cleavages revealing. So the next thing to do is to use your curve to connect from the shoulder to the neck depth. So as soon as you're done doing that, the next thing to do is to take your across chest measurement. My across chest measurement is 13 inches. So if you divide 13 by 2 to give you 6.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and mark that on my pattern paper. So the next thing to do is take your armhole measurement. So for me, my armhole is 18 inches. Divide that by 2 is 9 inches, just as you can see on my pattern paper as well. So now if you divide 9 by 2 is 4.5 inches. So you just go ahead to mark 4.5 inches on your pattern paper. Just put a dot like this. So on that part where you have that dot, just mark 6.5. Now on that part, that's where you would cross your armhole from. So our armhole is ready. So the next thing to do is take your bust measurement. So your bust divided by 4. You mark that on your pattern paper. So for me, the bust measurement here is 37 inches. Now you divide 37 by 4 for you to get the accurate measurements. But if you are confused with all of the 0 point something inches, I mean when you use your calculator and you start saying all of the 75 inches, something point something inches, you can just use your measuring tape, cross it this way, just the way I have done here. Then just do it like this. So that way it's a lot easier for you to mark on your pattern paper, and you don't go through the struggle of those points, 0 point something and all of that. So once you're done doing that, you just go ahead to mark it on your pattern paper. But I went ahead to like add extra like few centimeters just for ease. You can decide not to do that, but I will always advise that you do that. If there is excess, then you reduce, but it's better that you have more than you have less. Okay, so the next thing to do is your shoulder to your bust point, shoulder to your under bust. So for me, shoulder to my bust point is 10, under bust is 13.5, sorry. Now you go ahead to just mark that on your pattern paper. So sorry, it's noisy this morning. Can't just explain why. So once you're done doing that, you go ahead to mark your bust to bust measurement. So I'm going to use 7.5 as my bust to bust measurement. So I'm going ahead to just mark that 7.5 divided by 2. You will get 3.75. So you just mark that here. Like I said earlier, you can decide to cross your measuring tape. So you mark 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on the other side. You do the same thing on the under bust line, and now you go ahead to draw a straight line downwards. Once you're done with that, you connect to the bust point, just as you can see me do here. Now you know this point, the 4.5, we got the armhole. So now you use your curve to connect to that point like this. Now you can decide to take 1 inch here. For me, I'll use 1.58 inch here. Now you go ahead to connect. Just draw a curve through that point. And you extend it. Now you take measurement, just check. Me, I'm using 2 inches here, but you can make yours longer. The longer the better. You can always trim out if it's excess. So the next thing to do here is to mark our waist measurement. So my waist is 26 divided by 4, that's 6.5. Now measuring on this side is, I got 2.5 inches. Now I went ahead to fold it and marked the remaining, that's 6.5 inches now here. So once that is done, you go ahead to connect from the armhole to the waistline. So now we'll go ahead to do our pattern for the back. That's to create the back pattern. You take the same measurement, your shoulder to your waist, which is 15.5 inches. You do that too, just the way we did in front. We'll do that at the back as well. The next thing to do is now to take your shoulder measurement, just the way we did. So the armhole is 9 inches, just the way we did for the front. Our neck width 2.5 inches, just the same way we did in front. Shoulder measurement 7.5, just the same way we did in front. Now you mark down half and quarter of an inch, just the same way we did in front as well. You're actually taking, like, you're doing almost everything you did in front except a few things like the princess cuts. You just go ahead to mark the slope just the way we did in front. So the next thing is to mark the neck depth. So here we're going down by half an inch. Next is to divide your armhole by 2, that's 4.5. you mark your across chest. For me, my across back is 14 inches, that's 7. So you mark that on your pattern paper. So now you just go ahead to create the armhole curve. So next is to take your waist measurement. So for me, my waist is 6.5 inches. I want to add, so I went ahead to add 1.5 for that. The next thing to do is take your bust measurement. So you say your bust divided by 4. So I just went ahead to mark what I got here. Now the next thing to do is connect the dot on the armhole to your waistline. So you take your waist measurement plus your darts, that's 8, divide by 2, which is 4. Then remember we added 1.5 inch for that, so you divide it here and then you mark it on both sides. So I want my dart to be really long, so I'm doing 12 inches for the dart. So the same measurement you did, that's the 4 inches, you mark it there as well. So you see I'm marking the same 4 inches here, that same 4 inches here, that was what I marked at the top. So you just go ahead to connect the dots together. And now you connect the other dot to that point. And you do the same thing for the other side. So our back pattern is ready. Now the next thing to do is to cut out our pattern. So we have the front pattern and we have the back pattern as well. So now just go ahead to cut using paper scissors, or if you don't have paper scissors, like I don't have my paper scissors here, so I'm just using normal scissors. So I'm just going to use this down part as my my sewing allowance. Instead of cutting it out, I'm just going to use it as my sewing allowance. Mind you, so this pattern paper is without sewing allowance. So when you're cutting, you can either redraw your sewing allowance on your pattern paper, or when you're cutting, you include sewing allowance on your pattern paper. So please don't forget, it is advised that you even cut. I would advise you to always include your sewing allowance on your pattern paper, just so that you don't forget and mistakenly cut the exact measurement off. Like you just cut out what you have on your pattern paper exactly in your fabric, forgetting that you've not included sewing allowance. So it's always advisable that you include your sewing allowance before cutting on fabric. Include your sewing allowance on your pattern paper before cutting on fabric. So this is what it looks like after cutting. So if you're done with yours, your own should look like this. If it doesn't look like this, please check it again. Now you go ahead to cut your back pattern. So now we have our back and our front patterns ready. So we have both patterns ready. The next thing to do is to cut the pattern on fabric. Before cutting on our fabric, we need to cut out the sleeve for the blouse. So I'm just going ahead here to just mark out 6 inches from this side, mark 6 inches downwards as well. You do the same on the other side, and you draw a horizontal line to connect the dots together. So you can decide to just draw something like an arc just from that point. Just draw something like an arc like this, and that's all. As soon as you're done, you go ahead to cut it out. Mind you, the newspaper is on fold, so this is what it looks like after cutting it out. So this is what